You know what? Fuck it. Let's just get this over with. It's been way too long since I announced this. But what else am I gonna do? I can't hide from it forever. Today, I'm gonna be reviewing Geist for the Nintendo GameCube.
Bond. James Bond. James Bond.
Personally, I find Geist to be a decent, yet somewhat unique FPS for the GameCube. Sure, a number of issues prevent this game from being truly something else, but that really doesn't stop it from being a fun game. How does Geist hold up to most shooters out there on the market? Well then, let's start off by explaining the game's story.
You were ordered to lock down the containment wing and you failed.
In Geist, you play as John Ramey,
who is Gordon Freeman's brother.
He is a scientist that is sent in with a counter-terrorism team to investigate the Volks Corporation. Their main goal is to get Thomas Bryson, who is working undercover at Volks, and get him out of there. Things don't exactly work out, as the team is wiped out just moments before escaping. Ramey survives, but is unfortunately captured and has his soul torn from his own body. He is put into a brainwashing machine and become a soldier for Project Z, but is saved by a little girl ghost named Gigi. Now it is up to Ramey to get his body back, save Bryson, and stop Volks, while helping Gigi out along the way. The plot itself is unique in its own way, making it feel like a decent and refreshingly new story to experience. Some parts of the story can become predictable, but it really doesn't hamper the plot all that much. The characters in Geist are decent, but they also feel slightly generic. Ramey is a mute, Bryson is the obligatory black guy soldier, and Volks is an evil old man who wants to take over the world.
Of course!
Even though these character personalities aren't that original, I ended up liking some of them. In fact, I never found any of the characters to be annoying, especially Bryson, who is my personal favorite in the game. Despite its predictability, Geist has a decently fresh plot that will keep you intrigued throughout the game. Now let's talk about the game's graphics.
That's better.
The graphics in Geist are pretty good for a GameCube title. Environments are nicely detailed, lighting is well done, and the effects all look good overall. The weapons all look decent, with some unique looking firearms to go along with the basic shooter arsenal, such as the scientist weapons later on in the game. Character models look relatively good, with cutscenes showing them off better than in the actual game. The animation is good as well, with a decent use of a physics engine when enemies die. One thing about the animation that I like is that a little character next to the health bar does what you do, such as move, shoot, and crouch, and I thought that was a nice touch. This is unfortunately hampered by an inconsistent frame rate, which can slow down a lot when the action heats up. Despite the slowdown during action scenes, for a GameCube title, this is a pretty good looking game. Now it's time to move on to the sound. The audio design in Geist is a mix between good and average. The sound effects on some of the weapons sound very underwhelming, making them sound like weak staple guns instead of weapons. Examples of this include the SMG and machine guns. Explosions also sound very basic, nothing to write home about. The voice acting, on the other hand, is actually pretty good. I was expecting the voice acting to be bad, but I came out pleasantly surprised. It's not grade A voice acting, but it gets the job done very well. However, the voice acting is only fully utilized in cutscenes, meaning that you will only hear one or two lines from an NPC before reading text if you try to talk to them in-game. But it seems understandable given the limitations of the GameCube. As for the music, it isn't anything special. It's not bad at all, but it doesn't stray away from being simply generic. This track is a great example of a generic yet epic theme. Overall, the sound design isn't balanced out that well between music, voice acting, and sound effects, but it doesn't hurt the game that much in any way. But the real question is, how is the gameplay? This is where Geist unfortunately loses most of its potential. For one, the aiming in this game is, well, not that good. It feels very stiff and takes some time getting used to. The basic controls are just fine though. I really had no problem with them. However, you can't exactly change your control options all that much, or change the sensitivity of the aiming, so for the most part, you're going to be stuck with the default settings of the controls. The shooting parts of the game are decent at best, but the enemy AI is sometimes dumb enough to stand in the same spot while shooting at you. The AI on the creatures are a little better, but it's still nothing worth noting. The boss fights that happen throughout Geist can range from being good, easy, or a pain in the ass. In other words, I had mixed feelings about them. The best parts of Geist, however, come from exploring as a ghost. While in ghost form, you can possess certain humans, animals, and objects while everything runs in slow motion. The catch is, you can only possess humans and animals if they are frightened. To do this, you have to scare them using objects you possess. This is a clever idea, but the methods of scaring them are limited, as there is only one way to scare a host, which is a bit disappointing. When you possess a human, you're restricted to only one weapon with unlimited ammo. It's weird that you can't pick up other weapons, but it didn't bother me that much. Also, each host has a different ability that they can do, which can range from sprinting, crouching, and other special abilities. There are some puzzles that help break up the action nicely, and they aren't too difficult to solve. You can also find collectibles as a human or ghost. The ghost collectibles increase your total health in ghost form, and host collectibles unlock characters and maps for multiplayer. Speaking of multiplayer, the multiplayer in this game is actually really good. Up to 4 people can play on split screen, and you can have up to 7 bots to fight against. There are only 3 modes to choose from, so the selection is very limited. Possession Team Deathmatch is just standard Team Deathmatch where the only difference is that the weapon pickups are the humans you can possess. Capture the Host just requires you to possess any host on the map and take it to a certain location on the map. That's really all there is to this mode. The best mode, however, is Hunt, where one team consists of ghost-busting humans, while the ghosts have to possess and kill the humans using death traps. This is the mode I had the most fun with, and it is also the most original mode I have seen in a while. Overall, the gameplay in Geist is fairly decent. It's just that a few issues just prevent it from being truly awesome. Now let's proceed with the final scores. The story gets an 8 out of 10. It's a fairly original story despite having predictable moments and unoriginal character personalities, but that doesn't stop the plot from being enjoyable. Graphics get an 8 out of 10. Despite there being better looking titles for the GameCube, the game looks pretty good for the system, but the frame rate issues hamper what could have been a smooth looking title. Sound gets a 7 out of 10. It's a mixed bag between good voice acting, generic music, and some poor sound effects, meaning that the sound design in Geist isn't that well balanced out. And the gameplay gets a 7 out of 10. Despite being fun, stiff aiming doesn't help the shooting segments, but the ghost segments, puzzles, bosses, and fun multiplayer help save the game's weaker aspects. Overall, Geist is a good shooter for the GameCube. The single player is just long enough, and the multiplayer can keep you entertained for a while. There are better shooters out there on the GameCube, but if you find this game for cheap, you really can't go wrong with Geist. So, I give Geist for the Nintendo GameCube a 7.5 out of 10.
Save and done. I did it. I actually did it. I actually finished the review. Yes! Finally, I actually did something. And you know what? After how many years of not doing this, if people don't like it,
you can suck my